Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the student session. My name is Amy Kwo-som Chamavong, and I serve as the Associate Director of Community-Based Learning and Partnership in the Public Service Center at Cornell University. I'm fortunate to have the opportunity to work with Dr. Shona Allred, whom you have met earlier at Cornell side, who is a professor at Department of Natural Resource and Global Development in co-developing the Global Citizenship and Sustainability Program at Cornell. And through that, we're very fortunate to be connected with UNIMAS, University of Malaysia in Sarawak, and then later with University College of Technology in Sarawak to join partnership to work together for the benefit of the indigenous communities, the Penans in Lalamai, and also with the Ibans in Machan and Bawa Asan. And through that, the Global Citizenship and Sustainability Program, which you will hear a little bit more from the students, and it's a partnership where we bring Cornell students every year to Borneo for a few weeks to work in collaboration with the students of UNIMAS and UCTS and learning together with faculty and community members on cultural resilience and resiliency. So the journey was begun back in 2015, and it's not so far long ago, but a lot of ventures, a lot of memories, and a lot of laughters, if you would, and together. So together today, we'll have students to share those stories with you tonight or this morning. I apologize, coming from the US. So allow me now to turn, we have some students here, particularly from UNIMAS students who participated in the program. We also have students from UCTS as well, participating in the program together with Cornell students. Unfortunately, Cornell students cannot join us live. It's currently 10 p.m. for them, and others are traveling elsewhere, but they have pre-recorded the sessions and to share with you. And then we also will have time for you to ask questions and interact as much as we can through this virtual world. And so before we have the students to introduce themselves, I also asked Dr. Tari Zotman to join us. If you can give sort of a little introduction to some of the UCTS effort as well. Tari?
Okay, thank you very much, Amy. So as Amy shared with you that this session is specifically about the student reflection, and the student groups are joining, who are here with us from the different cohorts. In terms of UCTS, in UCTS, we initially started service learning program with the collaboration of Cornell University and University of Malaysia Sarawak in 2018. And the first cohort of our student was the FYP final year project student who are engaged with the community of Machan and Bawang Asan in global citizenship program. Part of the cohort from Cornell who were visiting us. In 2019, we established our own program here also by engaging the local institutions, which is the Phu Chau World Heritage Gallery. And other than that is the local school from Cebu, and our students were engaged in specifically to work with the Phu Chau World Heritage Gallery and Phu Chau Association to look at the museum, and specifically in pandemic situation where the travel visits are much more difficult. So the students of computer sciences program, they were looking at that how the technology can open a new space for communities as well as for visitors to interact. And very specifically in terms of the theoretical understanding, philosophical understanding, we were we are much more exploring the space of pluriversality, where the indigenous knowledge, indigenous system, and the modern knowledge or the system in the classroom, they can work together and can work in synergies with each other, support each other. So with this background, I think I will hand over to now Amy, and then we are going to the student an interaction with the students. We have 3 students here from UCTS, David, Danis, and To. So over to you, Amy.
Great, thank you. So well, first we're gonna ask maybe we'll have the UCTS students to introduce themselves. To, who actually was our first cohort at UCTS that joined us with the Cornell students at the Global Citizenship Sustainability. So To, can you introduce yourself, a little bit about your study, and also what you're doing right now, and we'll start from there first. To? To, you're muted.
Hello everyone, my name is
Good.
To Eng Heng. I graduated from the School of Computing and Creative Media in University College of Technology Sarawak in 2020. And I am one of the first students who joined the Global Citizenship and Sustainability program and joined the student group of Cornell University to work with Bawang Asan community in Sibu, Sarawak in 2018 to 2019. In this project, we had carried out an interview to learn about the difficulties that the Bawang Asan community are currently facing. Besides, we also managed to learn about their cultures, lifestyle, and their future aspirations. So currently, I am an entrepreneur, started my business in Song, Sarawak. And I'm managing about the grocery shop in Song, Sarawak.
Great, thank you, To. And now turn to David.
Hi everyone. Yes, so good morning or good evening. And I'm David. I'm currently studying a computer science degree in UCTS. And I'm a mobile app developer and a game designer who was a part of the World Food Zone Heritage Service Learning, and also service learning. I take part service learning project with a school from Finland and Namibia to design platform for the learners.
Great, thank you, David. Dennis?
Hello, can you hear me? All right, I'm Dennis. So I'm a graduate from School of Computing in UCTS as well. I'm currently studying Masters, continue on my education. And I was having intern in UCTS as well, and that was when I was involved in as a facilitator on the service learning in World Food Child Heritage service learning, and also help in co-designing with Malmos University students on websites design and app design as well. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. And now we turn to University of Malaysia Sarawak, UNIMAS students, who have been so fortunate to be working with them as collaborator and as researcher together, working with, actually we would like to call Mr. Garen Jenkins, who is our the liaison to the Penang community. And so Tim, maybe we can start with Tim to introduce yourself. You can share about your study and when did you participate and what do you currently do, and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, Amy, thank you for that.
Okay.
Greetings to all participants and audience. My name is Timothy and I work for the Institute of Social Informatics and Technological Innovation, which is also called as ICT, located in Sarawak in UNIMAS. So a little bit about my background is I'm currently pursuing my master's degree involving theory of inventive problem solving, or what we call as TRIS for short. So many will ask questions about what is TRIS. So I can summarize that TRIS is a great tool for solving a wide range of problems in various difficulties. It is also tackles problem from the core, so we can come up with a creative solution with TRIS. So for my GCS last time, Global Citizenship and Sustainability Program period, I was assigned to the group to do service learning in Long Lamai back in January of 2020. So in this student track session, I will share my experience about my stay in Long Lamai and what I have learned from the Penang innovations in the perspective of theory of inventive problem solving.
Great, thank you, Timothy. How about let's move to Evia.
Hello, everyone. Good morning and good evening. My name is Evia. I graduated in UNIMAS for my undergrad in anthropology, and also I continued my master's in UNIMAS. So previously I worked with ICT, and that is where I joined the service learning program. Yes, so currently I'm still doing my master's, and I'm working on my thesis is about community resilience as well, but about another issue. So yeah, I'm glad to join this service learning. Yeah.
Thank you, Evia. And let's move with Komati. Komati was one of our first group of one of the first cohort joining us with the Global Citizenship Sustainability Program.
Hi,
And
Amy.
unfortunately, unfortunately her camera's not working, but it's good to hear from you.
Yeah, my camera is not working. Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Komati Vasudevan. I joined Global Citizenship and Sustainability Program in year 2016. So that when my supervisor, my main supervisor and my co-supervisor put me into this program for me to get familiarized with all this, with the local communities in Sarawak, yeah. So currently I am working with the Swinburne University of Technology Sarawak, but not in Melbourne, but in 2019. And I graduated from my PhD research in year 2018. Yeah, that's and I teach 3 subjects or unit for international business bachelor degree students. I do teach for MBA students, and I do supervise MBA research students, and also I do supervise as a co-supervisor, yeah, for other research as well, and I do my own research for my journal publication. Yeah, thank you. Back to you, Amy.
Great, thank you, Komati. Franklin, not the last, but definitely the most really incredible Franklin, who joined us for several years from the start until the pre-pandemic, and it's been an incredible member in supporting and helping us to facilitate and guiding us with the Penang Long Lamai community. So Franklin.
Thank you, Amy. Hello, everyone. My name is Franklin Jos. I'm one of the Penang members, originally from Long Lamai, one of the site where we do the service learning program, and also my father from Long Prong. It's about a day's walk from Long Lamai, so it's almost the same area. So I grew up and went to UNIMAS for my degree, and I took social sciences program and continue to do my internship in ICT, where I start to involve with all the project, and also one of them is a service learning program. That's very good opportunity for me, and I can give back to my own community, and I can learn about my community where when I still young, I cannot manage to learn about my own culture, my own community. But when I involved with this service learning, I very lucky because I can learn back what I cannot learn in early stage. So I learned a lot about my community, about my traditional through this program, and I'm very happy for that. And right now I'm involved with NGOs who also working with the communities in Baram area, and I apply all what I learned from the service learning program, how to engage with the community, how I approach the community in that area. So it's very beneficial. Yep.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Franklin.
Yeah.
And we also have an important member. Unfortunately, he cannot be here with us. It's Chris, but he has pre-recorded his introduction and a little bit of his reflection on the experience with us through the Global Citizenship Sustainability Program. So we're going to play that clip, and then we'll go on to questions and some prompts to start talking a little bit more about the students' experience. And then if you have questions for students, please feel free to put it on chat, and we will monitor that, and then we'll be sure to get your questions answered by the students. Okay, go ahead, please.
Hello everyone, I am Chris and I am from Long Lamai. Firstly, let me tell a little bit about myself. My full name is Chris Donovan Garen, and I am one of the local youth from Long Lamai, located at the upper river of Baram, Sarawak. And this village, this small Penang village is consists roughly around 700 people. During the visit of the UNIMAS and Cornell University team for the Global Citizenship and Sustainability Program, I was fortunate to join with some of the students. At first, I only joined the program to interact with the outsiders and maybe learn a thing or two. As the program moved forward, we did various activities such as identifying Penang culture, exploring some of the Penang traditional music, local cuisine, the method of hunting, and many more. Furthermore, during the program, we involved with some of the elders at the village and gained many more information and great stories about the history of the Penang culture at Long Lamai. All the program that we did had shown me that there are so many things about the Penang that I still don't know, and that gave me the urge to know more about my community. Besides that, this collab program also gave the opportunity to the local youth to gain new experience and learn something new. Of course, that includes myself. That being said, I once again, on behalf of all the Long Lamai community, want to give our gratitude to both Cornell and UNIMAS. Words cannot describe how thankful we are to you. Other than that, people were also being paid to help in this project. The money has helped the local people a lot with many things, although it was just a normal thing to do, but it has helped to make the people's day better. It has also made the people feel appreciated and grateful to be of any help to them. All the culture exchange that took place during the project had also helped me and other people to adapt to the outside world. This will help to prevent us from experiencing culture shocks. In conclusion, I really hope that this kind of project will continue to make its way to the international level so the outside world can also learn about our local culture.
Great, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chris, for the introduction of him. And so now with the introduction of the students, you can see the sort of diversity of students involved with the program, and also that it also engages with the local youth as well, that we see all of them as students, but also for us, not beyond just students, we are all collaborators and co-researcher and working in collaboration with each other together with the community. And that's sort of one of the principles of the Global Citizenship Sustainability. And but now I want to ask the students, some of them already kind of started to share a little bit about their takeaways and some memories that they have. I'm going to ask them to go a little bit deeper, and so if you can kind of walk into, if you can sort of go back into your memory, deep memory. So like take us into your the fondest memory that you had in working together with community and with your peers, with your partners. So I wonder if because of Zoom, usually I can tell the body language, but at this time I'm gonna sort of call on individual students and to get us started. To get started, that's okay. So how about Evia, if you don't mind, get us started, like take us to your fondest memory that you had with participating in the program, working together with Cornell students and working with youth and working with community members in Long Lamai.
Thank you, Amy, for making me first.
I know.
Well, my fond memory, but there's so many. But I think
good.
yeah, I'll start with the community. It was my first time in Long Lamai, and it was the first Penan village that I've been to. And although I'm from Sarawak, I've never been to a Penan village. And what I like the most is listen to stories by the elders, especially Uncle Garen. He has so much stories that, I mean, history, knowledge, everything. I love listening to him, and every time we interview him or listen to his story, I wish we could really record everything, but I think we did, and then we digitalize it at that time. And then with the Cornell student, this is also actually we have a long, I think it's a long life, how do you say it? Long, it's a friendship that I would say that I will keep for life, because until today we still do video call in WhatsApp, and we kind of have this group video call like I think the last was last week, I think. Yeah, and we keep in touch always, actually, and whatever what we do, where we are, where we're at, like if you get a new job or if you continue your PhD, or yeah, it's a good experience. What else? I think that's the highlight, yeah, from this service learning.
Great, thank you, Evia.
Yeah.
To, how about To, if you can share with us about your experience of working through the global citizenship, some of your fondest memories that you had. No, I think it was Bawa Asan that you were at. You muted, To.
Thank you, Amy. The funniest memories that I remember was when we were having dinner with Bawa Asan community. The host of the dinner party, Mac, suggested that he needed a representative from UCTS to join the student group of Cornell University to perform a traditional dance called Ngaja. When I realized that I was selected as the representative from UCTS, I was shocked and stunned. Can you imagine that I had never joined the rehearsal of this dance, but I was selected to perform it in front of the audience? I was nervous and I'm thinking that, can I get the job done? So, I mean, wow, that was a big surprise for me. And luckily, at last, we performed this dance successfully. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, thanks, To. Timothy, how about your work and your experience, the fondest memory? You know, walk us through the story, the journey that you had.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start with the community first as well. So based on my observation for the non-nomadic community, the nomadic life practices have led them to be resilient and resourceful. Even though there are settlements like Long Lamai, the knowledge of the nomadic practices is still instilled in their community. They also learn to be resourceful, as the source of living can be scarce. The community is still thriving despite of the challenge they face in terms of their resources. It can be a lesson to us. To take. But my most memorable experience in Long Lamai is actually their innovation or games that they invented there during the stay. So it is very fun and fascinating actually. So when I talk about the innovation, I think that we can say that the Penan people are very creative in using the environment as their main source of information. So what I remembered the most about this is what the Penan elders told us is they can tell time by using the sound of nature. So actually, I've stayed with Benjamin Mirin. If you remember, he is also an avid lifelong bird watcher. He is also fascinated by this fact that they can use this information to tell time by using the sound of nature, sound of birds or insects. So that is one thing that I remember the most when we are there. And the other one is when we are playing games like Telikit. Well, people might ask what is Telikit, so let me explain it for a little bit. So Telikit is a game where the Penan used kind of hoops, different sizes of hoops, which represents the boar, wild boar. So what they do is they will throw the hoop to the player with a pole, and they must catch the hoop with the pole when it's still moving towards them. So that really bring me some the impact is like it is copying the nature. So we can see that the Penan people are using like games to train young people to hunt. So that is like one of the most memorable experience for me as well. So it is a great representation for being in nature or conditioning the youngsters before coming into the wild. So in these two examples, it just shows that Penan people are very creative in using its environmental resources as trees is a way of solving problems in the modern world. It is also applicable in the Penan forested environment. So that is all from me, from my experience that I can share with you.
Great, thank you, Timothy. How about Kamathi?
Hi, Amy. Thank you. Thank you for the question. So it's about the funniest moment that I had in Long Lamai, correct?
Or the memorable experience that you had in Long Lamai, or just in general working with the program, with the Global Citizenship Sustainability. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So if I want to relate my experience linking with the funniest thing, so one of a student, actually gave a haircut to Deepa. That what the funniest moment that I would recall, because of course we can't find a hairdresser or a barber in Long Lamai. So the student was find it very difficult with the long hair. So I don't remember the student who actually gave a haircut, but I remember who received it was Deepa. I was scrolling her name in my Facebook, but I think she deactivated the account, so I couldn't really get her name. So that is one of the funniest moment that I had, because you use what you have for that moment. So that is one thing. The one that motivated me was, well, even though I am a Malaysian, but I am from the West Malaysia, so I really don't know very much on the East Malaysia, which is embarrassing. But this program actually taught me, I learned that Penan community, Kelabit or Berawan, existing, and they have very beautiful cultures, and they have their own costumes, and they are so beautiful. And the other one that really that I am happy to know is the eating culture. Each culture, they have their own tribe food. So that is one thing that I knew from this program. And to support the community, the Kelabit community, to be honest, I do buy their barrio rice. That how I contribute to the community in Kuching. So that is my little contribution. And that's all, Amy. Thank you.
Thank you, Kamathi. How about Franklin?
Yeah.
We can hear a little bit more from you.
Okay. What motivated me to involve with this program is, like I said just now, it's in the Penan community where they choose the site. So it's also one of my village, and I'm very happy to join for this one, because it will work. We will work on the Penan culture and Penan knowledge where I cannot learn before, and I can learn it while I'm joining this program. So I'm very motivated to learn more about my own culture and knowledge from the elders, and the interaction or the experience that I get during the program is, one of the interaction is where we interview the elders, which is one of my auntie in Lonamai. We use photos to get the information about how the community live in the past, the way of their life, and we get the photos from Cornell Library, and that one is the old photo, and one lady in the photo is my grandma, and my group interview my auntie about that photos, and it's very emotional. And before, I don't think that photos can give you that environment, but after we use that approach, that method, and I know that it's very effectively and can bring the emotional, can bring the story alive again. And my auntie share all the memories they have, all the activities they have during the past by recall that photos. That's one of the memory that I cannot forget. And also another experience is about the house. We call it Lamintoro, but it's kind of hut they make in the forest. Penang use it to as a shelters. So that's one I really don't know much about it before, and during the session, the interview session, which the Uncle Garen are here, he explained about the hut, and there is many, and there is more meaning out of the hut. You can know how many community or how many people are stay in that house by just see the structure of the hut. So that one I don't know before. And also the hut, they have they have specific design structure for the family that have pregnant mothers, pregnant ladies, and there is many more to learn. And I'm very lucky to have the interview session with Uncle Garen, where I can learn more about that one, that I think it just a hut before, but it's have a meaning and design. The structure can give you more information. That is not just a hut. Yeah, there's two top experience, but there is many more. Yeah.
Great, thank you, Franklin.
Mhm.
Let's move to Dennis. Dennis, about your experience working with the Foochow Museum, and I know you mentioned a little bit about how that also, like Franklin, connecting with your own heritage as well. But share with us some of your funnest or memorable experience that you had as well.
All right. I think one of the most fondest memory is to work with people, and with students, with lecturers, with people from the association, and also from the gallery. This is actually my first time involving in service learning program, and also me working as an internship, and also first time as a facilitator, facilitating between the school and also the gallery. So I think during this working, this joint activity, I get to learn more about, especially from the student side. David and I actually were actually working together. So I think there was one time when Dr. Tariq wasn't there, because Dr. Tariq was one of like leading us. He was the one who lead us, but I was the one who helped him. But there was one time he weren't there. he wasn't there, and then all the students and I were just gathered in one classroom, and we just talk about the feelings on the program, on the assignments that they need to work on. They voice out their frustration, you know, like they voice out discontentment, but at the same time they also share about how new it is and how fun it is that they are involved in this program as well. Yeah. And secondly, also about me as a Fuzhou descendant, I don't actually know much about my history or my ancestor. But when I went to this service learning, I learned a lot about me, myself, and also Fuzhou as a whole. So I think like I felt it, you know, like when people are talking about the stories, my parents always tell me about, oh, they were working very hard, they are from a very poor family, and then they are very they experience a lot of difficulties when they are young. But for me, it felt that story like from my parents. But when I personally went to the gallery and I experienced it, I feel like I experienced it myself, like as a Fuzhou who came far from China and came to a far place that we are not familiar of, and they started to work hard and started to open up jungles, buildings, and the process of using a simple tools for their financial preparation until industrialization of using helicopter or any advanced tools for their businesses. So all of this actually leave a very deep impression on me, and that I feel that I should appreciate more of my ancestor, because if they are not working hard, I may not be here really sharing this experience. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. David?
Yes. So so I'm not a full Fuzhou. My dad is from Teochew, but my mother is from Fuzhou. And I still remember, because that time we are still in this pandemic situation where we have like 2 weeks open, and then suddenly another 2 weeks closed. So the moment that we received the news that we are allowed, we are able to go and visit Fuzhou Heritage Gallery Center, we are very, very happy, because we get to interact with human again. We don't have to sit in front of computer and then every day stay at home. So that time I still remember we even get paid for our petrol from the school, and then we are so happy about that. We even said in like during our internal discussion with students, we even said that, or even if they don't pay us our petrol fee, we will still go there, because I just want to go there and have fun. So that's our first thought. But when we really reached there, we are so amazed because my team, me and my team, we are working on the mural, which consists of the story of how Fuzhou they slowly come to Cebu, and then they start to develop here. Okay, they start to contribute to the development of Cebu. So I was so amazed by the tools that they used before, the way, the method, how they develop, and how they have a vision of developing Cebu, this place. So as I was so amazed by that thing, by the story and all the sharings that I see from the Fuzhou Heritage Gallery, from the community, from the narrator, as I go back home, the first thing that I do is to grab just to go and find my mother, and then keep on telling her, hey, you know that, oh, actually Fuzhou have this, have that, they do this, and then they do that. So some of the things that my mother can recall, but there are some of the things that my mother also shocked that, you know, if I wasn't visiting the Fuzhou Gallery, then probably he would never share that to me as well, because a lot of us have forgot. So what the Fuzhou Gallery have this vision to preserve all these cultural assets that they hope that they can pass on to the next generation, and where right now where they face the difficulties that nowadays the youth, the younger generation might not notice that there is a treasure in the heritage galleries and in the heritage gallery. So our mission is to, so that time I have this mission, and then I tell myself and my team that we are going to infuse the story that were about to be forgot by the younger generation into the game, since so right now a lot of youngsters, they care a lot about game, and then even game are being used in education to provide a better education experience. So that is our mission that time, that that are the things that we want to do. And with the engagement with the community, we get to get their input on how they want the game to look like, so that the story will not, you know, the story still the original story. We try to preserve the story as original as it can be in the game, so that it can, you know, pass on the accurate message to the younger generation. And I will still remember that one of the memorable memories that I had during that service learning project is during our I think it's our second visit to the heritage gallery. When we show them what we have developed, they were very excited, very happy, and then giving us their input. Maybe you can add this thing in, add that thing in. I think that they talk about two things. One is at first we were thought of putting their signature food, which is called gompia, in the game, but out of expectation, they were suggesting us that maybe can put money, because during that time, during the migration, what they really need is not food. What they really need is money, so that they can migrate the whole group of community, the people, all the way until Cebu. So we get their input, and then we try to modify, and then they were so happy about the development that we have. And the moment when I look at the smile, because we were engaging with one of this narrator in the heritage gallery, the moment when I saw the smile on her face, I know that that is not just a normal excitement. That is, I saw a hope in that smile. It's like, you know, they've been worried about they cannot pass on this message to the younger generation, but right now there seems like there is a hope for them, and therefore the smile, I think I will remember until now, and I will remember it until my future, that I will hold on this memory, that I will continue make impact on you know, others' life. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, David. That's amazing. Yeah, to see that smile and to have that emotional connections with the partners. And all of you have shared so many great stories and about your experience, and sort of thinking through about a couple things about how, you know, how you're learning from the community, and the community knowledge, how that is so important. And then that it's not just the university or in the classrooms, that actually the knowledge is also within the community. So thanks for sharing that. And also the importance of heritage and preservation, and also not preservation for static purpose, but also, you know, how do you move that forward to the future and passing out to the next generation. And working with people from different demographics, people working with community, working with the younger generation, working with cross-culturally as well. And I know that language is also plays a role in a lot of those conversations. Language, not, I mean, just the different like English, Penang, and Chinese and Iban. And then I know To had to do like double translation. So it was translate from Iban to Bahasa Malay, and Bahasa Malay to Chinese, and Chinese to English. So thank you, To, for that. But just before we open up to others, I just have one more question to ask you, to see if you can share with us, share with the audience a little bit. What was something that you were surprised by, something that you learned about yourself that you were not expected through the service learning experience? Let me kind of go backwards. I'm going to start with David, and then go with Dennis, and then go from, and then the UNIMAS, that route. All right.
Okay, so I'm gonna start with something that surprised that I didn't expect that I would learn during the service learning project is about how important the importance of the engagement of everyone. So before this, because this is my first time having a service learning project as well. So all the assignment that we had in the university before that were mainly focusing on our predefined problem statement, or our predefined situation that being stated in the assignment, or in the rubrics, or in the instructions. So we will just follow as what we imagine. But there is no much engagement and interactions of like compared to the service learning project. During the service learning project, we've been teamed up. It's not based on what we prefer. It's more based on what is our own strength. So, for example, in a group of people, we consist of people who are kind of good, who are good in front end development. Some students are in back end. Some students are very good at language. So we split up ourselves very evenly. It's not based on, oh, this is my friend and I get this my friend. This is my buddy, so I get my buddy in. Of course, after the service learning project, everyone become everyone's buddy. But at the beginning, we try to spread ourselves evenly, and I think this is the point where I started to learn how important to engage everyone during the project, because at the beginning, I thought that it's like the normal assignment. So we spread our tasks based on your strength. So, okay, you're very good at front-end development. You go to do this, so you only touch on this, and then you don't get to interact with the community. So when they reach to the heritage gallery, what they do, they're just getting the asset, the graphical asset. They take pictures, they take video, but they don't get to talk to the narrator. They don't get to talk to the community. And during the reflection, then we realized this problem, because during the reflection, then I started to asking questions such as, how do you feel during the visit? And then what do you think we can do better? Then I start to hear a lot of inputs such as, I feel a bit disappointed, I feel a bit sad, a bit frustrated, because I don't get to know what are the stories, I don't get to know the context, I don't get to talk to the narrator. And then there's a moment when I started to realize that it's not about your strength or your weakness, it's not about what you can do and what you cannot do, it's about engagement, understanding, and empathy. So I think that is my biggest learning during the service learning project.
Thank you, David. How about you, Dennis?
Okay. I think for my case, the first thing that I learned is about relationship building. Because since I started studying computer science, I always imagine myself when I graduate, I'll be working in an office and I will face computer for 8 hours, 24%, 7 days, just facing the computers, working on the coding or website. But I think this service learning makes me realize how important it is to actually communicate with our clients, and it's not only communication, because if we are communicating, you can just send a few messages, just call them whenever we need them. But it is really about relationship building, where we do not do that. We do not do that when we need them. Yeah, but then we are working with them for the applications or for the digitization of the artifacts and so on. And the second thing is that I learned how important it is that we using computer, we're using any devices, either mobile devices or any laptop. Ultimately, those are only the tools. It's not the solution for everything. Yeah, and I remember Dr. Tariq was saying in a class that human-computer interaction is actually not how human interact with computer, but we are actually interacting with another human through a computer. So HCI is basically how human interact with another human through an interface. So that's how I realized that, oh, so we are just using tools to actually help people, to lead people, to really make people comfortable with their life and so on. So I think this is my take on from this service learning. Yeah.
Thank you, Dennis. How about you, To?
The lesson that I have taken forward with me was the communication skills. So when we were conducting an interview, my role was a translator. During the conducting the interview, we were facing difficulties, which was the language barrier. And some of the residents in Bawang Asan cannot communicate fluently by speaking in English. So I need to take the responsibility to help building the relationship between the resident in Bawang Asan and the students group of Cornell University. In another meaning, my role was to act as a bridge to help the resident in Bawang Asan and the student group of Cornell University to communicate and interact with each other, and that was the most meaningful part for me. Thank you.
Thank you. How about let's start with Komati. So something, if you can share with us a bit of what surprised you, something you learned about yourself from the service learning experience, or from something.
Hi, thank you.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Amy. Yeah, what surprises me the most was, it was sad, yeah, to hear from one of my program leader, the community, I mean the Penan from Long Lamai earns between USD0 to USD $73 or 0 to 300 ringgit Malaysia. And that actually surprises me, and some homes without electricity and treated water. But I still remember, even though I joined this program in January year 2016, I still remember what Dr. Tariq did mention to me. He said, even though the community was not strong in the base of monetary, however, the community has a strong resources. For example, they do get sema and empurau fish, yeah. I'm sorry, I was unable to get this English name for these fishes, but they are from Mashir fish species, yeah. They are very expensive. They can go up to 600, 300. I think Mr. Garen, he knows about the price very well. Yeah, those are the fish are very, very expensive, and they are available in this village, which is Long Lamai. That is most surprised experience that I got from this program. And one more thing that really surprised me was flying doctor. They do have flying doctor facilities, but not often. It's like 2 weeks once. And this is also a meaningful experience that I learned from this program. Yeah. Thank you, Amy, and back to you.
Thanks, Kamati. Elia?
I think for me is what I learned. I mean, I would say fascinating for me. It's because the merge, we able to merge technology and indigenous knowledge. Because I remember we collected a lot of information, like what Franklin highlighted earlier, like when the old photos from Cornell archive was brought, and we showed the photos and we interviewed the community, and there were so many stories. Some, of course, the older generation, they remember, and which is really nice to hear. And also it's also beneficial for the younger generations, because they might, they don't know about it, and in a way we share knowledge to the younger Penang, so it works in many ways. Also, I'm gonna send a few 2 photos in the chat, things that we collected. It's basically for example, oh yeah, research data is actually very important. So back then we were thinking about, digitalizing everything, digital archive. So because there were musical instruments, there was this hunting games, there was this oral and photos, videos. So it was very interesting for me that, it's important to keep it. It's a digital knowledge. Yeah, so there were so many stories about their nomadic stories, giving birth, the heart and the music, orang, and also personal stories, how they kill the leopard, for example. It was, how was the encounter and all, or Uncle Garen's story about the Canadian man, or his experience, joining conferences, sharing his stories, grandmother. And I find that personal stories actually empowering, and also stories about trade. Back then, how did they trade things with other ethnic groups in Sarawak, through rivers or walking in the jungle. It was really tough, and also about religion. How did they accept Christianity before Christianity? Also education, hunting stories, so things like that. Yeah, I find it really fascinating. Thank you.
Thank you, Evia. Timothy, you can share with us.
Hello. So the question was the biggest challenge as a student during the stay in Long Lamai. So my experience was before we come to the place, I expected the place to be like very long, and it took a long ride and hard to reach. But in fact, it is a very easy in terms of what do you call it? Reachability. It is actually accessible quite easily. So, but during my arrival there, what surprises me the most is how well the Penans can converse with us and the Cornell students and teachers. So you can see that the Penans are very well informed about the outside world as well, even though that they are still in the secluded area, in the rural areas. They are actually surprising for me to see the situation like that. So what else can I share with you is seeing Dr. Elvinio's question about the challenges. So, and how can we advise other students for the future is like, I suggest that the students will have to keep an open mind when visiting a rural place like Long Lamai or Bawangasan. So I think that is my sharing for this.
Thanks, Timothy. Franklin, I was wondering, I know you already shared with us a lot about what you have learned from the community about your culture and heritage. I was wondering if you'd be willing to share a little bit something that was very surprised, also another surprise that you learned about yourself by
Yeah.
participating in the service learning program.
What is the experience that, or something that I not expected before I joined the service learning is not about the community, because I'm from that community, so I am not shocked like Dr. Komati, but something that between student, because I know that student, for example, Cornell students are very good in their writing. They are very text-based, but from us, from the community, we are not really good in the text-based, but we are good with the visual. So I don't think that we can very do the great work because we have a different strength. But like what David said earlier, we are like complete each others. So we are working. For example, we are doing the charting, we are doing the visual chart, but the student can contribute with the word, the text for the to come out with the story, to come out with the flow of what we did. So it's really surprised me that we can work together with all our what we have, like the community have a strength with the drawing, and the students are good with their writing, and it's very good combination, and it's very great.
Thank you, Franklin. Yeah, and actually just if you can look at the chat, thanks to Dr. Roger for putting up some of the pictures, but also the visual charts, and just for Franklin was able to how people would come together regardless of your bring everyone's strengths together. So and as a form of communication. So thank you, Franklin.
Yeah.
So in the chat we have a question from Dr. Alvin, who's joining us from New Zealand. And I'd like to ask the students, what was the biggest challenge as a student facing working in a community? And how did you overcome that challenge? Like what was something as your position as a student going into a community that you're not familiar with? And you might be sort of that you think you know, but you might not know once you get started. We might just take a student from UCTS and the students from UNIMAS to help answer that question. Unfortunately, we don't have time for everyone. So who would like to go from UCTS? All right, I'll pick on David. Go ahead.
All right. So let me look at the question again. So the biggest challenge that we face working in the community, I think like Tom mentioned just now, I think language is also will be one of the biggest challenges, because different different ethnicity, different race, they have different interpretation towards certain words. So one of the words that we are kind of oftenly use during writing or reports or whatsoever when it comes to development is the word challenge. So we interpret the word challenge as such as difficulties or problems that we face, okay, during our life. But the Fuzo, the narrator, the person in charge in the gallery, they interpret challenge, the word challenge, because we use it in Chinese, is called 挑战. And that word in Chinese actually means they interpret it as fight. So which means if you say that the challenge that faced by the Heritage Gallery, it means that the fight that in the Heritage Gallery, and they thought that we want to pick up a fight. So at that moment, we actually have a misunderstanding there, and then I try to calm everybody down. Okay, so that's not what we mean, because we have to prepare our slides in Chinese language when we go for our second visit to, you know, to let them know that, to update them that we actually take their input. So we, in one slide, we actually want to put the title as the challenges that faced by the gallery. But in Chinese, it becomes it is something 挑战. So which means that they thought it's a fight. So I think that is kind of funny at that time as well. But so after that, I think then the key point still goes back to consideration and also empathy. How can we make this even better is just to really remind ourselves to be sensitive, and also to just to be be respectful, and also to understand them really well. If we don't understand them, we might need to ask, and we might need to just that you have to put your effort and put your heart into understanding them. And with this act of empathy, I think there will be no issue, because language, in the end, language is not the main barrier. The main barrier is whether we consider it or not. Because if we consider it, you see how kids, they communicate, they don't really good at language, but you know how they can be very much well dwell together, much bind together. Is some of them they don't even speak the same language, but through hand gesture and all this, they are actually they are able to communicate with each another. So I think the biggest challenge that I faced last time is the language, but actually it's not it's not a challenge anymore, because until we realize that empathy, consideration is the key, then it's just like there's a quote for this. They say that if you know the rule, then you can break the game. So if you know the rule, then language communication is not the part of challenges anymore. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, David. How about someone from UNIMAS? What can I ask, Franklin or Timothy?
Timothy. Timothy have challenges more compared to me.
So I'll just keep it quick, Amy.
Okay.
So during my stay in Nong Lamai, the challenges that I have to face is most likely is about my fitness in the jungle. So if there's if there's anyone who is very eager to go with the penance inside the jungle, I think you have to make sure that you are in the best condition for doing the research and to go with them along the way in the jungle. So because you will have to cross the rivers, you have to climb the mountains, the hills there. So that's from my part, maybe.
Thank you, Timothy.
Amy, Miss Amy.
Yes, please, Franklin.
Yeah, one of the challenges that we faced during my time where we interview the elders, because we want to cover all the community. For example, the youth and elders and very old a very old community people. So one of the lady that we interview, so I think you have that photos, the very old lady that you get. So we cannot manage to interview it at the first place because she cannot hear us, and also that's very challenging. We cannot communicate because because of the barrier. So I think that we should also learn how to communicate by a visual, like body language. So students should learn that too, because we will face many type of the communities. To cover it all, we should learn how to communicate effectively with them, so they can tell us what we want. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, that's fantastic. It kind of goes back in terms of the consideration and really the empathy, and also just thinking how can we better communicate through different forms and different format. And also Timothy reminded me about fitness. Yes, next time when we go, I will be sure to run lots of miles before I head over to with Dr. Nara as well, climbing up the mountain. Let's see, we have one more question from Dr. Roger, and unfortunately we'll take that as our last one to wrap it up. He wrote, students' reflections are inspirational. So thank you all for sharing all your stories. And thank you all for being so gracious, sharing your thoughts and experience, and what this experience have meant to you. So thank you all. And what he wants to know is, what can we do to make students, your experience, students like you, even better? What can we do? Especially the university folks. I assume, Dr. Roger, that's what you were asking. How can we do a better job as well? So we'll take two, one from UCTS and one from UNIMAS. So this time I'm gonna ask Toll to do that. Now leave Dennis alone a little bit. Toll, what are your thoughts? How can we, what could have, or what you wish would be in terms of make the experience better?
Thank you, Amy. So what can we do to make our experience even better? I think that we can share the memories with the community that was interested in, and we can tell them a story about what we have been through in this project, and what are the excitement in participating in this event. Thank you.
Thank you. How about Ivia or Kamati this time? Can share with us a bit more, what can we do to make the experience even better?
Kamati. Okay.
Hi, Amy. What could we do to if their experience better? Means, is that about the community experience better, or the committee, or the student?
I think the question is directed at students. You at the time as a student, what could have been make the experience better? That just a lot. Many of us are really enjoying the reflection and then and to thinking back, and it could be a combination of students and community together. What could we make this even better?
As the program, it is actually doing very well. It's a good idea, and it also gives impact to the community. So I got nothing to give a recommendation, but probably in future different villages can be involved in this program, involving different tribes as well. But I'm not sure if it is possible with the current pandemic. Yeah, that is my recommendation. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Kamati, and thank you all for the reflection so far with UCTS and UNIMAS, and then the next half an hour or so we're gonna play the pre-recorded session of Cornell students' reflections, and so you get a chance to meet them. We had a few of them have selected some of the Sebastian, who was the part of the first cohort with Komati. And then also we have Matthew Ponteciello, who was for the pre-pandemic, along with Ben Field, who joined the with the UCTS with the Bawasan and Machan project. And also with Alana Stefan as well, who was part of the was joined with Franklin. I don't know, Alana was with you, Timothy, or probably not, right?
No, not with the committee.
Okay, all right. So so you'll get a chance to hear from them directly. Unfortunately, it's not live, but it's pre-recorded. So so Dennis, if I may ask you to play the video and to get us started.
Got it. Okay, my name is Matt Ponticello, and I was formerly a Cornell University student, and I will be moderating our panel with 3 former service learning participants from Cornell University. I graduated in December 2020 and took part in the 2019 cohort and traveled to Long Lamai, and I conducted research on different food systems and different tools for eating. And while there, I also conducted interviews, and we explored the role of sago, which was formerly the Penang's cultural staple of the food they ate, but has since transitioned to rice. And now I'm going to have each of our panelists introduce themselves briefly, starting with Benjamin, and then Alana, and then Sebastian.
So hi, I'm Benjamin Fields. I just finished, well, now I'm a second-year PhD student in sociology at Berkeley. I was in the same cohort as Matt, but I graduated class of 2020. In January of 2019, I was at the Cebu site, split between Bawangasang and Machan. We were working with the Aban on cultural sustainability, cultural preservation, and how to protect that in reference to youth moving out and all these development trends going on. And right now, my current research is in African American and Cameroonian populations on diets and health.
Cool, awesome.
Hi, my name is Alana Staffen. I was part of the 2018 to 2019 cohort, and I graduated from Cornell in 2019. And I went to the Penang village of Long Lamai, where we interviewed elders about nomadic life, as well as Penang values and history and culture and traditions. And we were able to take that information and work with community leaders to develop deliverables such as story maps and photo books. And right now I am a PhD student at Penn State University in physiology program, where I focus on feeding dietary fat to dairy cows and how that affects milk production and composition.
Cool, thank you.
Wow. All right. Hi, everybody. I am Sebastiano Gando. I am a Cornell alum, class of 2017, and I currently work at the Exploratorium, which is a science and art museum in San Francisco, as a corporate engagement specialist. So I work with the corporate community to fund programs in STEM, youth workforce development programs, art exhibitions, basically all the activities within the museum. I was a part of the Global Citizenship and Sustainability Program in the school year 2015 to 2016. My cohort traveled to Long Lamai as well in December 2015 through January 2016. And while we were there, I was part of a subgroup that focused on working with community members to identify water resource management challenges. Some of the activities that we did, research activities that we did while we were there, included learning about the history of logging operations in Long Lamai, visiting sites where we could observe serious soil erosion, taking a look at river dams, damaged pipes, and also mapping out water access infrastructure across homes in the community. A lot of what we did was gathering information similar to what Alana just mentioned, to create books and physical evidence of the challenges, so that in the future then the community would be able to address these issues in a more practical way.
Awesome, very cool. Everyone's doing very different things, but it's all very awesome. So our first question is, what motivated you guys to participate in the service learning program in the first place? And we can start with Alana now.
Yeah, so as Matt mentioned, right now we're all doing different things. So I was actually an animal science major. So the service learning program was a little bit outside my major field of interest, but that's exactly why I wanted to participate in it. I wanted to step outside my comfort zone of just traditional animal science research and be involved in a new area of research that would shape my ways of understanding research and also shape my worldview. And at the time, I also pursued a minor in international development studies. So I wanted to get some more experience abroad and particularly understand how to collaborate and work with people from different cultures and speaking different languages, and how to conduct research in a way that involves the community instead of just coming in and conducting research on your own. And so, yeah, for all those reasons, I just wanted to just gain some new experience in a different field. Since I knew I would be studying animal science in grad school, I figured as an undergrad, I could have different experiences that would really just shape my time at Cornell and last a lifetime.
Awesome, thank you. Sebastian?
Yeah, I think a very similar answer to what Alana just said. I'm just like copying everything you say. No. But I was a hotel administration major at Cornell, and it was good. But at the same time, I felt that I wanted to diversify my academic experience in undergrad. I grew up in Dominican Republic, and I moved abroad to study and travel different places. So I've always felt drawn to global international work. And I knew that the program attracted a lot of students in arts and sciences. And I thought that, one of the very important aspects of sustainable development in remote communities most often includes tourism. So I thought perhaps bringing the perspective of hospitality into the group would be helpful. I ended up not doing anything related to tourism, but yeah, ultimately it was a desire to, to work with international communities and also do some good in the world.
Awesome, thank you. And Ben?
So for me, I think the best way to describe it is an analogy. And so for me, I viewed the world as kind of a mountain, and I wanted to learn as much as I could over the mountain as I possibly could do. And going to Cornell, and I took classes on international development, and I also did an international development studies minor as well. When I learned about the truth in terms of that there's an actual world out there and there's all these places, I think sometimes you can get kind of disconnected from that. I wanted to go learn more. And I knew that as I gained more knowledge, at least was aware of what Southeast Asia was and was aware of the Aban through the courses that we took before we went, I wanted to learn more and more. And I realized there was more I needed to learn, not just about them, not just about that region, but just the entire world. And so this started with another trip that I did that was in Zambia, and it just progressed to this trip, and then it progresses to things I do in the future. And I think my goal, it aligns with my goals in terms of like wanting to experience and understand the world broadly. So that's why I picked this particular opportunity. And I think service learning is much better because the research programs that undergraduate students can do are kind of just like for fun and like kind of, sometimes like not really serious. And so service learning makes it much more embedded within like practicality in my eyes. And that's why I picked it.
Cool, thank you. So our next question is, how did it feel engaging with communities that were so different from your own and being a part of a culture, at least for a little while, where you're staying in community homestays for a very different culture and community style? And we can go again, I guess, with the same cycle of Alana, Sebastian, Ben.
Yeah, so I just thought it was really amazing how welcoming the Penan were, and they didn't make us feel like outsiders, but we were actually integrated into the community during our stay. So they shared meals with us. They taught us kind of how they harvested their food and where it came from. They allowed us to play traditional instruments and actually participate in church services and sing in church with them. And then they even allowed us to play with other youth in evening volleyball games and just sit around and tell stories. And so I thought that that's what really made it even more so community-based research and service learning, is the fact that it wasn't just kind of us doing our own thing and them doing their own thing, but we were really integrated as a team.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It was a great experience, feeling very welcomed and being able to build a close relationship with a community in such a short amount of time. By the time that we were out, several of us were crying because we felt like we had developed this deep connection with the members of the community that we worked with. And I think what I took away from that is that there's so much more that brings us together than what sets us apart. Even if you think about us as Cornell students in Ithaca, New York, in this small town, like trying to survive like snowstorms, and this community thousands of miles away in Southeast Asia, in the middle of forest and jungle, perhaps like almost seems impossible to the mind that, these two worlds could collide. But they do come together, and you get to see that at the end of the day, like, we're all the same, even if it's a different community. There's so many things that you can relate with others. So yeah, I appreciated that.
Awesome. And Ben?
I think what surprised me most was how quickly I was able to get comfortable. Because from the vantage point of having never been there before, you would assume that it'd be difficult to get to an Iban village and a rainforest in Borneo. But, you know, we flew there, then we drove, and then we drove again, and then we were there. So like the method, I think also, you know, for example, like you wouldn't expect technology to be important. And, you know, the students, we were sitting there with no internet while they're watching videos on YouTube. And even the way in which like we communicate, like I don't know the Iban language, and not everyone knew English and knew English at a very high speaking level, but yet we were still able to easily and effectively communicate. Even the food was pretty like, I wouldn't say, like it was like it's when you think of food from other cultures, like I think we kind of forget that like there's a structure to food, like you eat a protein, carbohydrate, and they ate chicken too. And so like I think the quickness with how familiar I was able to get with things was what surprised me most. And then like a lot of traditional expectations were wrong.
Cool. So the next question would be, what surprised you most about your experience, or something that you were not anticipating?
I guess something that surprised me, I think just looking at kind of the agenda of our time in Long Lamai going out, I just saw every day was like interview, interview, interview. And as someone who was used to like in animal science, we would go out to different farms and have a very specific research agenda of like kind of detailed down to the hour. And so kind of going out to Long Lamai and seeing that on our schedule, I was wondering like, are we going to get done what we need to get done? Or how do we know exactly what we're going to be doing? But I think the flexibility, our professors really knew what they were doing, and also they built a relationship with the community years prior. But that flexibility and not scheduling something every hour, but leaving just open time for interviews allowed us to have extra time to talk with elders that maybe had more to say, or allowed us to do other things we didn't think we were going to be able to do. Like they invited us to go on a hike through the primary forest, and we were able to record different community members, like building a traditional hut or making sago or making poison darts. And if we had like a very strict research agenda, we wouldn't have had time to do that. So I think coming from a field that's a little more, in my mind, like regimented and structured, it really surprised me that our research agenda wasn't like that, but I think that was a strength actually of the program.
Awesome, thank you.
I think again, something very similar to what Alana said. I was surprised that by the end of the program, we actually had, you know, something, a product that, a result that we could, you know, yeah, like a product of our research. Because when we arrived in the community, it wasn't very clear what we were going to research. We did not have the specific research questions, but I was surprised when I realized that was sort of on purpose, because the point is that you have to come up with the questions by working with the community, not coming in as a savior and like know-it-all, telling people what they have to do. The concept of community-based research is based on working with the community throughout all of the whole process, right? And yeah, so when that clicked, I was very surprised, and I was like, oh, okay, this is what it's about. And then by the end, I was like, oh my God, my first day here, I thought it was going to be a disaster. And by the end, like we had, you know, achieved and like worked together and produced all these great things that hopefully have helped the community. So yeah, I think that was it. That was it for me.
Cool, thank you.
And I guess I'm next. I think one thing I didn't anticipate was some of the questions that came up that I think we couldn't address. Maybe even with the community, it would be hard to address some types of questions. I think one that comes to mind, for example, is, what direction should cultural preservation go? And it sounds like an easy question, but I think there's a distinction between what different people of different ages, for example, believe that should mean. And I think there were a lot of questions that came up like that I didn't anticipate or expect, that require very complicated, dialogue, solutions, and things, because something that may be important to someone who's 20 in the Aban community is working in Machan, and something that's important to someone who's even that person's parent and then that person's parent, so a grandparent, becomes really complicated. So I didn't anticipate those kind of questions coming up.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that's interesting that you guys all talked about, and I guess that kind of bridges at least what Sebastian and Ben talked about, that I also experienced in Long Lamai, was that there was big generational differences between what the younger population was kind of interested in exploring and what the older population was interested in exploring and building upon, which raises a very interesting question, I think, where Sebastian talks about you get there and you make up the research questions with them, but what do you do when like community is no longer a monolithic experience and you make up research questions with an intergenerational community, and who gets priority? Like, is it the grandparents? Is it the kids? Those are interesting questions that came up in my mind when I was there as well. So our next thing is, what part of your experience was most meaningful for you?
Yeah, I think that just one experience that really stood out to me was when the Penan, we went on a hike and they taught us Oro, which was their forest sign language. And for me, I'm a very visual learner. So whenever I tried to learn spoken languages growing up in like middle school and high school, it was really difficult for me. Like even after years of trying to study a language, I didn't feel very confident in speaking it or listening to other people speak that language. But when the Penan showed us the Oro signs, it was a lot easier for me to pick up because I'm a visual learner. And so I was excited that I could actually understand and feel like I was communicating with community members in a way. For some of them that didn't speak English, I couldn't communicate before. And so I actually had fun like practicing Oro for the rest of my time in Long Lamai. And it's like, this was a small part of our trip, but it's something that was really meaningful and stood out to me, just because that communication barrier with some of the elders that didn't speak English was broken, and I could feel like I could actually communicate with them and understand that learning a language like is possible. So yeah, that was just one of the most memorable times for me.
Awesome. Yeah, I remember learning that too, or being in the forest and having them show us like kind of like the forest signals with like sticking holes in different leaves and everything. But yeah, that was very interesting. Sebastian, what about you?
Yeah, I think overall the most meaningful aspect of the experience for me was just like the relationship building, the connections that I was able to establish with the Long Lamai community. As I mentioned at the beginning, like one of the first few questions, like we were leaving and there were tears, it was emotional, and it was proof that while we were there, we were able to, establish a connection beyond just the research that we were conducting. And then I remember Garen, one of the Penan elders in the community, he came to visit Cornell, I think perhaps a year after my cohort, and we all had a dinner together, and he remembered each one of us, and we were like telling stories of the 2.5 weeks that we spent there. And I think at the end of the day, for me, that's like the most important thing, how you're able to relate and connect to other people. So that was really special.
Awesome, thank you.
And for me, I'd say something very similar to Sebastian was getting to know my host, Mac. I think going into a research trip, you expect to be doing things that I guess are formal all the time, but even, you know, for example, when he was teaching us some of the traditional dances that he wanted us to know, there was a lot of laughing, giggling, there was a lot of happiness, smiling, which is something I think you don't really think about much when you go into a context like that. You know, when he was showing us the field and making jokes and we were trying on hats and taking pictures, it was really a great time to not only build a relationship with him, but learn, but then also realize that, you know, we're all just trying to have the same things in life and like pursue happiness and that kind of thing. And it really taught me to value those types of experiences and write them down. And yeah, it was the most meaningful part to me for sure, was the relationship building as well.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So our final question, or I guess second to final, is what lessons have you taken with you and how do you apply that to what you do now, even if what some of you are doing is very different than community-based participatory research?
Yeah, so I'd say just a big lesson that I've learned, kind of going off of what Sebastian and Ben were speaking, is just people are the most important asset and the most valuable asset to any research, and those relationships that you build are even more important than the specific question that you're studying. And so even though I study animal science, this service learning program and my time in Long Lamai has just made me a lot more aware of the value of taking time to actively listen to people with different wisdom and different experiences than me, and to see that knowledge as a strength rather than just a difference. And also just being more aware of people who may have different experiences. As I entered grad school, just there's so many people from a lot of different countries and different areas in my animal science department. And even though we're all busy with our own research, just taking the time to sit down and ask them about where they're from and their experiences growing up and why they're pursuing the field that they're pursuing, and just their different understandings of the world. Just taking the time to have those conversations can be really valuable, no matter what research field you're in. And so I really just appreciate this experience and the chance to step outside of my traditional research field in order to gain this experience and incorporate it back into my own research.
Awesome, thank you. Sebastian, how about you?
I definitely agree with Alana. Like, active listening is such a big part of I guess like any type of work that involves, you know, the collaboration of any sort with other groups, other individuals. Interactive listening, when you actually absorb other people's stories and perspectives and you take them for what they are, you're able to also increase your level of empathy, which is very important as well when you're working with other people. And this is something that I thought about when I was working in something like completely different, corporate sales, which has might seem very remote from community-based research. But it's important to hear what people have to say. So when you're offering something, so that you can actually give them what they want. And that is like a really a very good way to build a relationship with someone, to build trust, and to make the other person feel comfortable. You can use that in sales to convince someone to buy something. I used those active listening skills and the empathy to, you know, work with corporations that are giving funds to the museum that I'm working at. You know, you want to make sure that you're understanding what the other person is telling you, so that you're able to deliver that and build a long sustainable relationship. So I think it can be applied across any field. Yeah.
Cool. And Ben, what about you?
For me, I learned two things. I think one is to be people focused and people centered. And so what that means is that when I go somewhere, build a relationship with the people, be focused on the people and everything, and not really worry about the externalities. And then also look for continuity, and those go together. And so when I go to, interact with a group of people, I should be going in from the standpoint of like, we're equals and we're both trying to learn. I'm trying to get out of this, or I'm trying to contribute just as much as I'm trying to pull. Because at the end of the day, I think we try to downplay how much we pull, but at the end we are. And I think looking for things that, are continuous across the distribution. And so why would I expect, for example, something to be in Machan or Bawanggasan and not at home, in terms of like internet or using cars, like our like conceptions as to what we think people do, but then also looking for continuities in terms of the things I'm studying. And so I want to do work a lot in sub-Saharan Africa, particularly in West Africa, and there's going to be continuities in some of the things that are going on around development and narratives. And even, people I meet, connecting the dots as to why people do what they do and study what they study. And so those are the kind of things that I pulled out of it.
Right, awesome. And I have one more question actually, which is something I didn't prepare you guys for or mention I was going to ask, but as you were all speaking, I was wondering, what is one word you would use to describe your experience when you reflect on it? Because even when I'm listening to all you guys, the one word that I'm listening to or hearing is relationships or like connection, because that seems to be the most valuable part to all of you. And the thing you guys really honed in on and have carried with you moving forward is how you navigate your relationships. So just guessing, it's like a closing remark on like what's one word you think of when you reflect on your experience.
Yeah, I guess besides for relationships, which you already mentioned, we actually had kind of one word that was a theme during my time in Long Lamai, and that word was a Penan word, Parema, and it means like the illumination or the passing on of knowledge. And that word just really came up again and again, and we actually all got bracelets with Parema written on it, the whole research team, both Cornell students and Penan students, and just helping the community to understand how valuable and how life-giving the knowledge that they have is, and how important that is to their community, and just how much of a blessing it is that they're willing to share the knowledge. And so just seeing the community light up with that focus of Parema meant a lot. And yeah, I still remember that word a couple of years later because of it.
Well, that's very nice. That was a very good answer. Sebastian.
Yeah, I would say you already said relationships and community is very obvious. So I guess I just thought about togetherness. Like, yeah, it's just great how so many different worlds can come together and, create a beautiful experience for everyone that hopefully puts out something positive onto the world, that has a positive impact. And that all happens when we join forces and work together. So I guess my word would be togetherness. Yeah, that's a word, right?
Yeah, I think so, hopefully.
I think for me, the best word is probably enjoyable, maybe. Because, for things to be enjoyable, like you have to have a relationship between the people. You have to be both doing something that interests you and that both, stimulates you, whether it's, academically, research-based or any other way. And those are the things that you're going to remember and take on with you. And those are the stories that I'm going to share with my mom when I come home. And I think that's the best way to describe it, because I think that genuinely I enjoyed being there and I enjoyed the entire experience. And I'd hope that my host family and everyone else that I interacted with would say the same thing. And I think that's going to that word leaves the best lasting impression and the best way for me to think about the trip, think about the people I met and when I interact with them in the future, and then also remember these stories and share them.
Awesome. Well, those are all the questions I had, but that was very incredible. All of you had very insightful and lovely things to say about your service learning experience. Thank you for participating and being here. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure everyone else does on our conference committee.
Great. Well, thank you all for joining us with that video, a pre-recorded session with Cornell students. And now I think we will be moving onto break. And so please stay tuned and stay on, enjoy the traditional music and some videos, and also digital stories that students have put together from different years, started in 2015. And so stay tuned, and then the schedule will come back on live at 2 o'clock.